Tuesday again and a new episode of What's on Your Mind. And today we have Lien De Pau. Lien has worked for several years in her own business and worked so many hours she was fed up. And she said, I'm no longer going to trade my hours just for money. So she built a scalable revenue model where she is gaining money and at the same time she can be surfing on her surfboard in Spain. I really enjoyed the energy that Lien brought to the table, and I hope you do enjoy our conversation.
Welcome to What's on Your Mind with Peter Snowart. Every week a guest talks about his or her story, and that story can inspire you to change your own. Here's Peter.
Hi Lien, how are you?
Hey Peter, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing fine. It's
Awesome.
a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you for having me.
Now, I think a question to start with, to warm up a little bit. And I think you have already received that question multiple times. We are now the beginning of the summer holidays, the 2nd of July. This whole Corona period, what was the impact on you and your business, what you are doing? Or was there no impact?
Yeah, there definitely was an impact, both on a personal level as on a business level. For me, on a personal level, one of the things that I found really difficult in the beginning was the fact that I could no longer connect with my friends and my family. Mm-hmm. I've never been living so close by to them for many, many years. This is the first time I'm so close to them. And all of a sudden, it was impossible to go and see them and visit them and spend good times together. So for me, in the beginning, that was pretty hard to carry. I also moved to a new place and I didn't know anybody. So I literally was like totally isolated. And I don't mind being isolated. I'm an introvert, so I like my own space. But for me, even for me, as an introverted person who likes to just be left alone, it was challenging times. For me as an entrepreneur, in the beginning, I found it a little bit overwhelming. I'm in the educational space, the online educational space. And all of a sudden, it seemed like within a week of the lockdown that everybody was in the online educational space. Mm-hmm. So I don't know for sure it's the algorithms on social media, but all I could see was sponsored advertising of what looked like everybody and their dog was doing online courses that had you to work on your business from all over the place. And I thought, wow, where is this coming from? And I just felt a little bit unethical promoting my business at that point in time, whilst so many of my clients were literally just hammered by the lockdown and literally didn't see any revenue coming in and saw their next couple of months basically a total disaster. And I really felt a little bit not a little bit, I felt highly uncomfortable promoting what we were doing, which is a business school for entrepreneurs, which really helps them to go digital and online, which was the right place and time back in March and April. But I really felt uncomfortable promoting that business, knowing that a lot of my clients or potential clients were basically in a panic mode. I just couldn't sell knowing that my audience was in a panic because they would be buying my stuff for the wrong reasons. And that was really, I needed a couple of weeks to get my head around that and feel comfortable with saying, hey, I've got some interesting educational stuff for you that might help you navigate what's happening right now. Now I'm more comfortable with that. If I look at it from a business perspective, because that's how I felt as an entrepreneur. If I look at my business in general, March, April, May, and June have been the best months ever in comparison to previous years' similar months. So we've seen our revenue grow 4, 5, 6 times even in comparison to the year before without actually doing much. And I think this is because I've been in the online space and the digital business space for 6 years
Yeah.
now. And we were ready for what happened in March. We've been ready for that for many, many, many years. So we didn't have to pivot. We didn't have to change. We didn't really have to do anything. And just people came flocking towards my network, towards my book, towards my business courses, because we've just been around, and the time was now for
Yeah.
actually them to make the move into the online space where we were already in for many years.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Now,
it's been interesting times for sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
Now, and that's something I heard from another conversation that you had. You were an engineer from education.
Mm-hmm.
Then you worked a couple of years as an employee in optimization of processes, because I saw you have followed lots of courses in Six Sigma, and also the fact in combination with that is that I heard a story that you were brought up by your mom. Your parents were divorced, and I had a feeling, because we don't know each other personally, not before this conversation, is that your true mission is that you want to give women the freedom, the space to have a different life than what your mom was doing. Actually, she was working very hard to make sure you had everything that you needed. And was there that in 2010 you had that foundation of, I want to have another life that I experienced from my mother?
Not really, actually, but what you are presenting is very true. I have been brought up by a single mother. I'm an only child, and most of my teenage years, when I was living with my mom, she was a freelancer.
Mm-hmm.
So what I remember from her professional career when I was living with her, she was a freelancer. She was a successful freelancer, obviously, because paying the bills and raising a kid all by yourself and just trying to do that without much war zone in the house is already pretty impressive, specifically if you have a kid like me, which was a bit of a handful at the time. So she did an amazing job, but I also saw that it was stressful for her, having that responsibility of being the sole provider in the house and doing that on an unstable income, which is what you have as a freelancer, really put a lot of stress on her. And I kept that in the back of my mind for a very long time, like that this would not be something that I would want to do. But I'm also very entrepreneurial.
Where did you get that? Was it born something in you, or?
I think so, yeah. I kind of I like to try new things. I'm kind of adventurous. I get bored pretty quickly as well. I'm someone who's, when I was an employee, I was always the one who was like, but we could do this differently. And it would work so much better if you do it like that. And, you just piss everybody off around you. They're like, can you just shut up and can you just do our job like we've been doing it for 20 years?
Like that.
Yeah, exactly. So I've always had this like drive to, just make the world a better place, although that sounds a little bit cheesy, but actually that's kind of where it comes from.
No, I don't think it sounds cheesy. I have the same. I also want to make the world a better place. So I don't find it cheesy.
Okay, maybe some of your listeners, viewers might find it cheesy, maybe not. But I've always had this drive inside me. But an entrepreneurial path was never on my radar. I've only made the switch back in 2009 when we had that other crisis, and now we have the Corona crisis, but the property market crisis in the US, and then it was brought over to Europe. I was working in a consultancy firm. We had to hire 1/3 of the staff force.
Okay.
Stay, but I became like kind of responsible for the department where I was before just an employee, but my manager got kicked out and I just kind of like moved up in the pyramid because that's how houses are built. And I thought, well, if I'm gonna be getting the customers and negotiating the deals and doing the projects and making the invoices, well, I could just do that for myself as well.
Yes.
And then when I compared like the invoices that I sent to my clients and my paycheck, I was like,
Mm.
opportunity here. So I just decided to do what I was doing as an employee for myself as a freelance consultant.
And was there something, sorry to interrupt, was there something that triggered you to take that step to jump, or you had no fear at all?
I went, I started, I've only worked for like 8 months for that company.
Mm.
So I only just made the move like recently. And I said to myself, you know what? I really don't want to go and look for another job again. But I
Mm.
do feel that the mentors that drawn me into this job, they're not no longer here because they are fired. So there's no one here that I can learn stuff from. But I also don't want to start this whole writing your CV and applying for jobs and all that kind of stuff. So I'm a little bit lazy. So I was like, you know what? I really don't want to do that. So let me just go on and just do it as an independent consultant. And that's how it started. And I wasn't fearful. I was just not really excited of going to look for a job hunt again or doing a job hunt. So I just became my own boss.
Okay.
And it was only by the reaction of other people who were like, oh my God, and you just bought a house, and how are you going to do that? And that I was like, well, I don't know, but I'm sure it's going to be fine.
And at that time, you were already traveling, because now you live in Belgium for a short period of time, but normally you live in Spain. That journey microbe, was that already active then?
I come from a traveling family, so traveling is very common. My grandfather used to have a traveling business. My mom and her sisters and brother have been basically brought up in a bus because my grandfather had a bus company, a travel bus company. So the traveling virus is inside us, and it's been inside me all my life.
Okay.
But it kind of like got put into the fridge once I started working, because all of a sudden you have like 20 days of holiday a year.
Mm-hmm.
And even when I became a freelance consultant, when I became my own boss, it was not because I wanted to travel more. It was just, as I already told you, kind of like circumstances brought me to that point. It was only when I was in business for like 2 years and was literally working my ass off day and night as a consultant with irregular income, work in the evenings, in the nights, on the weekends, never take holiday, no time for nothing, that I was like, oh my God, I'm doing exactly what I saw my mom doing when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
I have seen what it leads to, and this is not the life that I want to live.
No.
And then I decided to redesign my life, my business, myself as an entrepreneur in order to build a very
Yeah.
different lifestyle than the
Be-
one.
because you were trading actually an hour, or your time for an hourly rate. That's the problem. It's not scalable, that business.
No, not at all. No. And when you don't work, you don't make money. When you're sick, you don't make money. When you can't work, you don't make money. When you don't want to work, you don't make money. And I thought, well, this is really tricky. Like I could have thought that up earlier in the process, maybe, but I only realized when I was into actually doing it that I was like, oh, this is tricky. Like I know if I work, I can make a lot of money as a consultant. This is
Mm-hmm.
great. When I don't, if something happens to me, then there's no money coming in. And I'm very intuitive and very passionate, and I can jump into things, but I'm also very rational. And so my brain was like, maybe this is not such a good long-term strategy. Like you
Mm-hmm.
really have to think this over as an entrepreneur, if this is how you want to live for another probably 20 to 30 years before you can actually retire. And then I thought, that's a little bit too risky. I don't want to do it that way. So I started basically redesigning my life and my business.
And was there I mean, I have worked for more than 25 years in software, which is basically scalable model. Was there some kind of business model that you, I wouldn't say modeled, where you were inspired to transform your business into? Because the
Yeah.
scalable model, now we're talking about 2000 and when you had to you were a freelance consultant, and then you're going to transform your business. How much years is that? 5 years ago? 6 years ago?
Yeah, about 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And of course, it didn't happen overnight, because people think, this is a silver bullet. I put something online, and the thing sells itself, and the passive income thing, it's there, and let's travel. It doesn't work like that, or is it?
No, unfortunately, it doesn't. There are pathways to get there, though, but you have to put in the work. You have to be active in order to get passive. That's actually the strategy. So it just doesn't happen overnight. Now, my story was I didn't realize that I wasn't in an unscalable business model. I didn't even know what a business model was when I started as a
Okay.
freelance consultant. I just knew I was selling my time. I have never seen anything else, so I didn't really know what it was. It
Mm-hmm.
was only when I realized, and I think the realization came from reading The 4 Hour Work Week from
Yeah.
Timothy.
Tim Ferriss. Yeah.
So the book is like 12 years old.
Yeah.
I kind of read it like 9 years ago, when I was at that point where I thought I can't really maintain this kind of business model. And I read the book and I was like, oh my God, there's another world out there, and I didn't even know about it. I didn't know it existed. And that's when I started to basically try and apply the things that basically are in that book. So I experimented with drop shipping. I experimented with building a website and trying to sell my own goods. I experimented with all kinds of stuff for probably about 2 or 3 years, until I realized and I found not only a way that was working for me, which was a scalable way where I could be less important in my own business. And that's also when I started to kind of spread that knowledge in Belgium as well, because nobody knew about this. We're talking about 6 years ago. Like,
Mm-hmm.
small entrepreneurs, they were either a baker, a butcher, someone who is cutting hair, or a freelance consultant. That
Mm-hmm.
was kind of like what a solo entrepreneur was
Yeah.
doing.
Correct.
There was no one in the online space. There was no one who said like, hey, but you could have a website and sell informational products, or sell the stuff that you have in your store actually online. That didn't exist. It started to exist for bigger companies, but not for small companies. It was
Mm-hmm.
totally accessible, but the tools were there. You could start to build a website in Squarespace and WordPress, which was in 2010 just not impossible.
Yeah.
You had to program when you wanted to have a website. But I was right at that specific time where that whole area opened up for smaller entrepreneurs. And it sounds a little bit full of myself, but I think I was one of the only first ones in Belgium who actually realized the potential for small entrepreneurs, the
Mm-hmm.
potential for people like my mom, because that was for me like the framework of what a small entrepreneur was.
Yeah.
And so I decided to kind of like spread that knowledge into the Belgian market, because I was like, this works for me. It's awesome. Maybe you can do something with it as well. So that's kind of like how I shifted my business into a very different
And,
business.
and, 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 the, and the first thing was then zeker van haar zaak. Hè? Dat is the first thing, eh?
Yeah, so that was Zeker van haar zaak. It's still a network for female entrepreneurs. It was a network for female entrepreneurs. That came about because I was looking for a community of women entrepreneurs, solo entrepreneurs that I couldn't find in Belgium. I knew that they were there for sure, but they were not there when I went to, VOCA receptions or Unizo events or whatever. They seemed to be hiding somewhere. But you could see that 1 in 3 of the entrepreneurs were women in Belgium. And
Mm-hmm.
most of them were solo. They just were running their business by themselves, but I didn't know where they were. And I was like, I want to get to know them, because I feel a little bit lonely as a solo entrepreneur. And the advice that I get is for actually people who want to grow their business, to having employees and stuff like that. And I don't want that. And an online digital business is awesome for a model like that. So that's how Zeker van haar zaak came about, because it was basically me looking for other women like me. And that's
Mm-hmm.
how the network grew from a couple of 10 of my girlfriends to like a community of 6,000 people at its height. So yeah, that was a crazy ride.
But it still exists, eh? It's still growing, yeah?
Yeah. It still exists. 2 years ago, I decided to make it a paying community because basically I really wanted to focus on the entrepreneurs. The community grew, and a lot of new people who came in actually were not entrepreneurs yet, or had a desire, or not yet. And it became a little bit, I felt like a split personality because I couldn't serve everybody at the same time, because when you're thinking of maybe having your business, your needs are very different than when you are 6 years in business and
Yes.
you're looking for the next growth
Yep.
acceleration. So I decided, okay, I want to have in this network the people that want my A game. And the people who want my A game, those are entrepreneurs who are a couple of years in the process. Back then, I was already 8 years of an entrepreneur. So I thought, if they're in this network with probably about 1 to 4 to 5 years of experience in business, I can serve them, and I can serve them in a way that is going to challenge me as well. So that's when I made the decision to turn it into a paying membership. So we've been doing this for almost 3 years now, still growing every month, a little bit more of new members coming in. And it's been an exciting journey. It helped me to build kind of passive income
Yeah.
without actually realizing it was
Yeah.
passive
Yeah.
income.
Yeah.
It was never intended to be like that. People now often ask me like, oh, I want to start a group and have like a paying subscription model. And I think it's a great idea, but you need to do a lot of work for free for a very long time.
Yeah, because that was the thing. If I looked you up, I mean, the content that you have created is so much. I mean, all the free advice that you give, all the Q&As with Lien De Pau, it's unbelievable what you can find about yourself. It's and I was
And
thinking, oh my God, all those years that she has invested in recording that, thinking about that. Yeah.
thanks for saying that. Like, I really appreciate that you have seen the work that goes into it, because some people think it's like, like not a, how do you say that? Like, you just pop up and you have success.
No.
But there's been a lot of work that came into that, and there's been a lot of just building that network and providing value and sharing expertise, and that's what you need to do not before you should start charging. I think you should start charging for your services straight away, because otherwise you don't have a business, it's a hobby. But you always have to, in combination, think about free ways to serve your
Yeah.
audiences,
Yeah.
because that's how you build a business for the long
Yeah.
run.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it has to be a mission. Eh? You have to. It's serving the world. Eh? I mean, and of course you have to charge, and you can charge big time. Um, do you think that about the price? Because I find it a very interesting one. My wife is a solo entrepreneur, by the way,
Mhm.
and I saw when she started that, and I have to be careful what I said because otherwise I will be kicked out of the house. Is that there is a relationship between how she is feeling about herself and the price she is asking to her customer for her services.
Mhm.
Is this something that you see a lot within a lot? Do you think there's a difference between men and women? That a man is as more, and I don't want to generalize, of course, but is that something that you see often, that women sometimes don't have the guts to charge what their value is, and sometimes they're a little too cheap?
I wish there was no difference. between what women entrepreneurs and men entrepreneurs are charging, but all the data shows that there is a difference. Freelance consultants on average, when they are women, they charge less than they are men, when they are than the men, their
Okay.
male counterparts, even in Belgium. So we are basically as entrepreneurs copying what we see in the workforce, where there is still a 17% pay gap between men and women. So that's the reality. So if you tell me, is it true? Yes, it is true. I mean, the
Okay.
data shows.
Mm-hmm.
The reasons why, that is very difficult to like literally pinpoint the exact reason why. We see multiple reasons of why that is. Partly because there definitely is a little bit of a bigger connection between self-worth and what you charge for women than for men. That's one thing. Secondly, culturally, when women start their own business, they get the advice of, but you should learn first. So don't charge too much. You still have to learn a lot. Ooh, that's a little bit expensive. Women get that feedback way more than
Okay.
guys. Unfortunately, but that is the reality. And I see it within my network. I see it in my business school. Pricing for women is a very emotional challenge.
Okay.
On top of that, I think a lot of women, more than men, have not learned how to handle money. I don't know when you were a kid how that worked with money. Like, did you get pocket money?
No, not really. No, I have to. For instance, what I had to do to learn the value of money is I had to work in Blankenberge 2 months. I cannot say that because it was a little bit illegal, but fair, because they ripped my contract, and then I had to start over again in August. And with that money, and with that money, I was 15 years old, so I took the train from Bruges, where I lived, where I was born, and I went to Blankenberge, and I sold there on the, I don't know, on the coast, so on the Dijk, I sold ice cream and waffles. And with that money, I bought my first electric guitar because also I'm a musician. So,
Yeah.
but I mean, and yeah, having to collect that money and earn that money by working day and night, I mean, I didn't get the guitar, and I wanted a really good one. So that was for me how I learned money. My parents told me, you want money? This is holidays, you have to work. So I did everything, like think in Blankenberg, but also when they sell French fries, for instance, in the weekends, things like that. So there was no pocket money until I went to university in Brussels and Leuven. There I got, of course, money. Otherwise, I have to sell my body, and that's my parents did not want me to sell my body. So that
I
was a joke. That
think
was a joke, eh?
I may hope so. Well, at least I hope it's not a joke that your parents didn't want that. That is true. Now, for me, it was the same. I've always worked for my money for for as long as I can remember. Basically, I had student jobs and weekend jobs and all that stuff, even when I was in university. But I recognize for a lot of women, when we earn money, our parents say you should save it. Be
Okay.
careful. Be careful with it. Don't just spend it on all kinds of things. I tend to notice that for guys, it's a little bit different. The money that they earn, it can be used for fun things, it can be used for an investment, it can be used for. I've noticed that, and I can't prove this for real, but I have noticed men have a better financial education than women have. Women are not taught to handle money and deal with money. When they make it, it's for saving. It's not for investing. It's not for learning what you could do with your money. It's not for making deliberate decisions about your money. We don't really learn the value of money in
Yeah.
that sense. And from that perspective, I think this is just another thing on top of the
Yeah.
cultural thing, the self-worth thing. It's a very complicated
Yeah.
network. I have noticed that as a woman, we don't. we are not really brought up within a frame where money is, it's energy and it's something that we can do
Yeah,
great.
correct. But I fully agree, and I find it really a pity. But at the same time, I was also culturally taught that money was a dirty thing and you could not talk about money and things like that. So I think in general, I think at schools they should learn to teach really how to handle money and see money as energy, as something to, yeah, as a means, as some kind of transaction, and having not such a bad relationship with money. Because yeah, you know, all the things, of course, if you have a bad relationship about money, yeah, then it's going to be very difficult to, like, if I look at myself, I mean, I was selling deals of 10,000 euros and getting that step to 1 million or 100 million. I mean, that I was my own, I was limiting myself, and I had mentors to really break down those limits, but I did not learn that. And I am never going to blame somebody, but I'm looking to that typical small town, yeah, cultural thing, because yeah, I mean, yeah, but that's a lot of money. I don't know. It really depends. But as you see it as, yeah, as a point of view from scarcity, yeah, then it's a lot of money. But it's just money. It's energy, Jack. Like, and I think that from a very young age they should teach that to men and women.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think in Belgium we're highly uneducated when it comes down to money.
Yeah,
If you look at entrepreneurs, so either they tell you you shouldn't be an entrepreneur because you'll have to work hard and not make any money. If you're an entrepreneur and you work hard and you make money, please don't tell anybody that you make money.
yeah.
Don't buy the expensive car because everybody will judge you.
Or a boat.
Don't, yeah. So, and that's both for men and for women as well. But so I think in Belgium specifically, in a number of European countries, we have a very distorted relationship when it comes to money. It's something that if you don't have it, you shouldn't talk about it because you need to be ashamed of it. And if you do have it, you shouldn't talk about it either because you also need to be ashamed
Yeah,
of it.
yeah, that's
Or
true.
you didn't make it in an ethical way, you didn't make it in a nice way, you have been cheating, you have been a fraud, you have been all kinds of stuff.
Yeah,
And I think that's holding men back as well as women, maybe women even a little bit more than men, because um, we tend to be a little bit more socially organized and value the opinion of others slightly more than guys do. Now, on top of that, like I don't want to finger
no.
point towards women, because I do believe, and I work around money beliefs and money mindset quite a lot because I have been in that position myself, and I do believe there is a lot of stuff that we can learn and that we can break away from, of the stuff that we have been brought up with. That enables us to grow in that sense. I have been in that scarcity mentality most of my life.
Yeah,
I have really struggled to break through the barrier of 100,000 a year, not as a consultant, but as an entrepreneur.
yeah,
Thought I only work so little, it would be impossible to make
yeah,
more money because
yeah,
it's kind of like cheating because
yeah,
I hardly work. And it took me a lot of mental work in order to break through and go towards that
yeah,
200,000 level,
yeah.
for example.
I
Just saying that, I think it is, this is something that you can learn and manage. And as an entrepreneur, if you feel it's holding you back, it's time to work on releasing, that negative energy inside of you, so you can just
yeah,
have it flowing a little bit more, literally in your
yeah,
brain
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
your bank account as well.
I really feel that you have that you are very self-aware, and the what do you think about the statement? And this is something, I'm now 45. How young are you?
39.
39, 30 plus. And so what do you think about the statement? And this is only something I discovered when I was around 40, is that as an entrepreneur, what you're doing in your business, people talk about the doing aspect, but I've learned it's not about the doing, it's about the being, who you are as a person, and your business is actually an extension of who you are, and all the rest. So it starts really from you and who you are and your beliefs, etc. And And a lot of people think that's bullshit, but I still believe, for me, in my opinion, that's where it all starts from. And if you want to grow your business, you need to look in the mirror and you see that face, which normally is yourself, and work on yourself on that and really dig deep on every level.
Yeah, it's very interesting that you say that. I do believe that myself, that being an entrepreneur is the most interesting personal development course that you can ever take. And whatever you learn in your entrepreneurial journey is benefiting you as a human in your relationships with other people, in the way that you see your life, in the way that you strategize things. So I fully agree with that. And one of the interesting things that I see is that from a classical point of view, when we look at what entrepreneurship is, we actually tend to forget that the business should serve us instead of us serving the business. We tend to build a business in a way that everybody else builds a business. So you have a product that serves a need, and then you sell it, and then you scale it, right? Like that's like the model. No one teaches you, maybe except me, no one is teaching you that actually the question is, how do I want to live my life?
Yes.
And can I build a business
Yes.
that serves my life,
Yes.
and that serves me as a human, that cultivates the good stuff in me, that is kind of like helping me break through the demons that I have inside me? It's a little bit weird, but it seems like, specifically now in the whole scale up startup um, hype and community about like just scaling really fast and selling your business and all that kind of stuff, we tend to forget that most entrepreneurs start a business because there is something inside them that they want to contribute to the world. And what we should teach these entrepreneurs, sorry, I'm on a rant now, but what we should teach these entrepreneurs is to think about what's the business that you want to build, and how should it look like so it serves you in a way that it helps you cultivate your lifestyle.
Yeah.
And that's why I do a lot of work for women, because women intuitively feel that a little bit better.
Yeah.
They're a little bit more in tune into, you know what, I also want to pick up my kids from school.
Yeah.
That's really important for me. Or
Yeah.
I also want to, be able to cook really good food at home that is healthy for me and nurturing. And therefore my business needs to allow me to do that kind of stuff.
I fully agree. The thing is that, so there is a son. I don't say I have a son. There is a son in my life who is becoming 3, and I fully agree with you. The fact is that I think it's about you, and it's about having some kind of mission, because and as a side effect you will be happy. It's the same as, I want to be a millionaire. No. The money is a side effect. Focus on the thing you love, and then your intention will be pure, and you will connect with people, and people buy from you because they like you, they trust you, and so on and so on and so on. And I had a similar discussion 2 days ago with the CEO, because I worked in startups for like 20 years ago, when the startup term in Belgium was not even invented, around 2000. Yeah. And I was also into that mental model, because I was really unconscious or unaware about that. So the only thing was grow and become the biggest. But the thing is, you have still hair on yourself. I hope it's your real hair. But I lost my hair then. I lost my hair by working so hard and thinking that was the way to growing, and then I will be happy. And that CEO a couple of days ago, he said, yeah, we're going to split up the company and we're going to search for VCs, so investors and business angels. And I was like, but you're almost on a burnout and you want to drop out the company because it's like, I don't know, 60 employees or something. I mean, is that really what you want as a person, what you're going to do here? Or is it something your ego wants to do? Because you've seen that model from all the other startups who have been doing an exit, and then you're a millionaire, but you feel like miserable with all your money. So my question is, who are you and what do you want to be? And then reflect that on what you do at your company. And I think, and also I made that mistake of focusing on that growth. But the thing is, for me, is that if you want to do something in your life, you have to work on the mental, the emotional, the physical, your body, and the spiritual level. So the more purpose, mission driven. And especially that intuition was something, especially for male people, that they, like myself also, that I got it completely wrong, and where we are mistaught. So I fully agree that women are more taught about intuition and things like that. And at the same time, the more negative thing, like you have to shut up, you have to be silent, and you have to obey and things like that, which I absolutely do not agree. But the men, they don't learn how to listen to your emotions, to your heart, to your intuition and things like that, because that's the real key. Know what they learn, work hard, earns lots of money, then you will have a beautiful woman, get a nice house, mostly the biggest one in the neighborhood, because then you are important, and then your self-image. And I think I fully agree with you, and that purely that scale up and that's overhyped, because I hate that culture about that growing for the growth. I mean, if I look at nature, it doesn't work like that. It's not about growth or growth. You like to surf, which is my big dream, to learn to surf. I mean, there are a lot of drops in the ocean, but I mean, there's always enough, and it's not about we want to make the ocean bigger. No, it's good as it is, and you're going to float under the ocean. And so I fully agree with you, and I think we need more male and female aware entrepreneurs that are listening who they are, instead of breaking themselves down and building a something successful. Because I believe you also did that. You had a very successful company, but you lost yourself in that journey.
Yeah, I mean, yes, I did. And it's been a very interesting experience. Um, I love growth, by the way. I am an entrepreneur, so growth for me means creating more value for people. So in that sense, it's definitely something I keep an eye on. It's not the goal. It happens when you want to have more impact for people, you know. So I definitely, I mean, a business is kind of an economical system as well, and the economical systems have been ruled by the idea that they need to grow in order to sustain themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how capitalism works, and that's the economical model, and therefore that's how companies work. Um, I think what you see now is a shift towards the other side of how entrepreneurial spirit can live in the world. And it's not only about bigger is better and that journey, which is also a good journey. There's nothing wrong with that in itself. But I feel like there's also now more space to have a different kind of view on what entrepreneurship is, something that's actually much more closer to what it used to be maybe 50 or 100 years ago, you know, when we were just basically trading and creating value for our customers. And it was not about like, I have a stall on the market and in 2 years I want to have 5 stalls on the market and then on that other market as well. That's not what you did. You just wanted to sell great cheese and be loyal to your loyal customers, and that was it, kind of thing. And that kind of became not cool. It kind of like, it's stagnant. It's not like, but do you not want more for yourself, and you should grow and you should do this and you should do that. And we kind of forget that there's still a very different way of running a business and being an entrepreneur. And I think that's awakening quite a fair bit. In definitely the last 10 years, I would say, probably about 10 years, which is cool. And I think both systems should be, you know, like they're separate, but both of them should be there. But both of them create value for our society in different ways. And I think that's both cool. What I do hope is for people that are very ambitious in their growth strategies, that they also really aware of the fact that is what they actually want for themselves. And maybe some of them do, and some of them might not be aware of what it is that they really want. And then the journey is gonna end probably quite painfully, which is the same thing if you're just a small entrepreneur and you're doing it because nowadays it's really cool to be, you know, self-employed. If you're doing it for that reason, it's going to be tough, you know. If you're doing it for you know, I want to become the best freelancer and the most successful freelancer in the world, which is not growth but just being the best, you're probably not going to like the journey,
Yeah.
because it's not about the price in the end, it's about the journey
It's
along,
always about the journey.
you know.
Always. I mean, you don't listen to a song for the last chord. You don't just don't dance for the last move. You just dance for the dance, and that's the same.
Yeah, exactly,
I
I
mean,
fully agree with that.
why do
Yeah,
you surf? Why do you surf?
to catch as many waves as possible. And to track it on my watch and count how many meters.
I don't believe
Well,
you.
the reason why I surf is the reason why I'm also an entrepreneur. It's about the journey. It's about learning. It's about letting go as well. It's about understanding that you're not in control. No matter, as an entrepreneur, we like to tell ourselves that we are in control. But look at what happened in the last 3 months. All of us realized we are so not in control. And all of us, a lot of us realized we don't really know what we are doing. And I'm happy to say that. I'm comfortable to say that. I hope that when I say that, it inspires other people as well, or other entrepreneurs as well, because it's a journey and it goes up and it goes down, and hopefully you like it, no matter whether it goes up, or it goes up and down, or you, whatever happens, you know, at least I hope that you enjoy it. That's the most important part.
Yeah, and it sounds really strange, but the most difficult times in every aspect, if it was now private or even professional, um, and when you're in the mid, when you are in that wave, that down wave, it feels painful. But afterwards, if I look back, then I come to a point that I see it as a gift because I learned something about myself and I learned something about the experience. And that is that experience that it makes you grow. And I'm actually very grateful for that, because if we would go to the movies, and I don't know if you are a fan of Star Trek or Lord of the Rings or whatever, and I would tell you the whole story of all the movies, I mean, it will be boring. I mean, it's just that roller coaster that goes up and down that you cannot control, which makes it exciting. Because I want to add also something about the corona that you're mentioning. I mean, that's all correct what you're saying, but it also shows that we are human. And it means also that tomorrow, it can be our last day. So this means for me, today is a gift. And that's why we call it present. And you have to do everything what's possible to manifest that potential within you. Otherwise, you're just surviving. And it's okay if you choose that kind of life, but
Yeah, it's an interesting thing because I used to be that kind of person that was always looking at tomorrow. I've always been an A-type personality that was very driven, very focused, very much that, that grow kind of mindset,
mm-hmm.
basically. Always on to the next bigger job with more responsibility, with more, you know, like more international, more global, that kind of stuff. And in business, it was the same thing. It was always about more. And I remember when I was in that process of realizing, like, this is not really making me happy, but I don't really know what the alternative is. Because I haven't seen any alternative. Like, I haven't seen how you could be in business, still have a very financially successful business, a very mission successful business, impact successful business, but still have plenty of time and all that. There were no examples of how to do that. And I remember when I was on that like explorational journey, one of the things that I realized I meditate as well. So one of the
Mm-hmm.
things that I realized during meditation, one of my meditation sessions was, um, okay, you have this A-type personality that is always wanting more. You know, there's kind of like this monster inside you that is like, more, give me more, give me more. I want the next thing, the other thing. And when I have that, there's another thing already over there that I also want. And I really visualized this as this huge, big monster that was like unsatisfiable, always wanting more. And I saw myself in this meditation as a very little girl, like a tiny girl. And she was just saying, she was like, but all I want is peace and happiness.
Yeah.
And that was so powerful for me, that particular meditation, that I was like, if I'm going to keep on feeding that monster, I will never be that person that I actually really truly want to be. And that was like mind opening for me. It didn't allow me to realize like how I should change the business and everything, that only came afterwards, but it did realize like there's another path for me. Either it's going to be that path, which I knew is not making me happy. I've already seen that. I've already explored it. Or there's another path, and I don't know how it's going to look like. I don't know even if it's possible. I don't know if you can do whatever the hell you want every single day and still make good money and travel the world and like live your mission. But you know what? I'm going to try it, and I'll just see if it works.
How many years have you been meditating?
I started meditating back in Thailand, which is like probably about 7 years ago, I think.
And what kind of form for meditation?
I'm not really sure.
It's a,
So
you're watching your breath.
yes, that's the first start.
Yeah.
I do often guided meditations.
Yeah.
Guided not in the way of distracting your brain so you don't think of anything else, but guiding in terms of a learning experience.
Yeah.
And so my teacher talks about specific conceptual things during the guided meditation for kind of like being in that moment,
Yeah.
staying with your breath, but also some kind of an eye-opening, often learning experience as well, which is something that I really appreciate. Yeah.
Do you find that meditation changed your life?
Yeah, it does.
Also as an entrepreneur?
Definitely.
No. But for me too, because the thing that you're saying, it resonates with me because it's the same, because I also had that more thing. And then I discovered that my self-esteem was actually connected to targets, because I believed if I reach that goal or targets, whatever, then I will be happy. And if I didn't get it, I was unhappy. And when I get it, I was still unhappy.
Yeah.
And I was like, shit, but this thing, it doesn't work. Even if I do everything on the world, I will never be. And then I just switched it, the whole thing around. And it was also during meditation that I realized that, because you look at yourself and your thoughts, and I was like, what the hell am I chasing for? For whom am I doing this?
Yeah.
And I maybe that's also a male thing, but that competitive, that guy is better than me, I have to make sure. And then I stopped everything. There is no competition anymore. It's only about me. There's no competition anymore. The flowers don't compete with them, so I'm not going to compete anymore. I don't participate in this whole stupid thing anymore. I stop with it. I'm going to do my best. That's it. And I enjoy the journey, even if I lose something. It's that journey, it's that lesson with the people that I encounter that journey with. Because within 10 years, if I look back, I will have forgotten about that deal or whatever, but I will never forgotten how I did it with that person who I was then working with.
Yeah.
And the rest I'm like, so when they come off with targets or goals, I'm like, whatever, I don't care. And but I didn't say that goals aren't important. I am no longer attached to that goal.
I think probably you just realize that either meeting them or not meeting them is not necessarily going to be how you feel.
Yeah. And
because I also have goals. I have a manifest every 6 months about how I want to grow and as on an individual level, on a personal level, on a business level. So I have goals. I try to reach them. I definitely have the intention to reach them. But whether I do or I don't, it doesn't make me happier or less happy. I think one of the things on a very practical level for meditation, if there are entrepreneurs listening now who are like, it sounds, I don't know, do I need to be in like a white t-shirt and like sit still and all that kind of stuff? I think one of the very quick benefits that you can get from only just maybe 5 or 10 minutes of
Mhm.
meditation is clarity and focus.
Yeah,
And if there's one thing that you need as an
yeah,
entrepreneur, as a CEO of a business,
yeah,
it's clarity and
yeah,
focus.
yeah,
You
yeah,
really need to understand what is important. You really need to understand where you should put your energy as a CEO, because you can't give it to everybody at the same time.
yeah.
It's impossible. And I think just spending that 10 or 15 minutes with yourself is giving you that clarity that will make you a better entrepreneur.
H-
Um,
how much do you do it twice a day, in the morning and then in the evening, or?
No, 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 not even every single day. It comes and it goes, my practice. There are times where I do it frequently. There are times where I don't do it at all. I recently just started picking it up again because I felt like it would serve me. I didn't know in what kind of way, but I knew it was going to serve me in one way or another. I think I tend to grab to it at a point in time where I feel like this is a skill and a tool and it's going to help me right now in the situation that I am in. And I mean, these are exciting times right now and scary times at the same time, for entrepreneurs and for everybody. Basically, we're in a new normal where we don't really know how to navigate it, neither in business, neither in personal life. I went to the store today just to buy some groceries, and the tension is,
Yeah,
you cut
feel
the
it.
tension in the store. So we've come into a new kind of reality right now, and no matter how you look at it, that's hard to deal with for everybody. You can say like, oh, it's fine, I don't really care or whatever. We are all impacted whether we care or not. And for me, like, these present like couple of weeks, I was like, I really need to grab this tool again, which is meditation, to kind of like ground me back into the person that I am and get clarity about how I want to navigate the next couple of weeks, or even just today.
Yeah.
um, so for me, it's kind of like, it's a tool in my backpack that helps me in certain and specific times. I know I should practice more regularly, but it's fine. It
Well,
serves
you do
very
what
and it,
yeah, for me,
I'm
I
not
do
a
it.
purist who's like, you should do it every day in order for you to feel
Yeah,
better.
that's the
No,
tricky. If the must thing is there, if it's a must, then you're missing the whole complete point.
I'm too pragmatic. I'm like, I know that this thing works, and when I need it, I will get it off the shelf and actually use it. I'm that kind of a person. So
Are there any other things or things that are in your backpack that that help you? I don't know.
um,
Do you do ice cold showers, for instance? I don't know.
no, no way I will ever do ice cold showers in my life.
I I can
You
assure you,
feel
I
like
do that.
that in Spain, right?
I do that, and it changes your life also.
I'm really happy for you. Keep on doing it if it's changing that.
Now, if you
Yeah,
could, if you would go back now, and you studied in Belgium, eh?
yeah.
And you go back in time with a DeLorean, and you would meet Deline when she's 18. She's standing in front of the high school, university door, whatever, and you would meet her. What would you give her in terms of advice? You say, "Lovely Lynn, I'm here from the future. This is my advice."
That's a great question. And in order to answer that, I'm going to tell you about another meditation experience that I had a few years ago, where I did a guided meditation where I was visualizing myself 40 years later. Or that was what it was supposed to be. So um, I I was in America, apparently. So I visited my older self, who apparently lived in America in a huge mansion, like these American things, like castles. And I walked into the house where apparently I was living, or my older self was living, and the whole house was pretty empty, which kind of makes sense because I'm a minimalist myself, not back then, but right now. And the house was white and empty, and a lot of lights came in. And it had this big staircase, like you see in the American movies. And I walked in, and there was this lady yelling, and she was like, "Come on through. I'm in the back," which was obviously me talking to me. So I moved forward further into the house, and I'm sitting there wearing just a plain white clothes. Okay, this sounds a little bit weird. Gorgeous woman, long gray hair. I was like, oh my God. And she's sitting at a piano in a whole white space with big windows, and the piano is black. And everything else is white, including me and my clothes. Well, not me, but my clothes are. And I'm playing piano. I can't play an instrument, nothing at all, which I thought was striking. So she's playing this piano, and she's like, "Come on over, come on here." And I'm just listening. I don't know what song she played. I don't remember that. And then she looks at me and she's like, "You know what? Everything's going to be okay." And that would be the advice that I would give myself as an 18-year-old as well.
You know what the strange thing is?
No.
Everybody who comes here says that.
That everything is going to be okay?
Yeah.
Oh.
Don't worry, everything's going to be all right. Yeah.
Maybe you're just selecting your guests on the basis of how neurotic they are.
No. I'm just selecting if they have a boat or not. No, that's yeah, it's interesting. Now, are there you mentioned Tim Ferriss? Are there any people, mentors that you admire who inspire you at this moment?
On a business level, or
Doesn't matter.
Because on a business level, I don't have that many mentors or coaches. They tend to shift over time as well. At some point, I feel like I've outgrown them or something. It's like, okay, thank you for all the stuff I've learned. Great, I'm ready to move on to the next thing, which is great. I also see that with my clients. You know, they come for mentoring with me, and then they progress and they grow and they move on, and they're ready to go on to the next teacher that is going to cross their path, you know, which is great. When it goes into my private life, I feel like I have one of my best friends, or my best friend is beyond a mentor, in that sense that there's just a whole bunch of stuff I've learned from her throughout the 10 years that we have been friends, and I feel really blessed having her in my life. I also collaborate with someone. This is actually a business mentoring relationship that we have, but he's a very inspiring entrepreneur who is very, very successful according to the classical rules of what success is. But he's a very grounded, warm-hearted man, which I just, whenever I come to him with, how should I deal with this? He gives me an answer, and I'm like, oh man, that's even like 50 times better than what I could ever come up with in my little brain. So I find that very inspiring as well. The guy that my meditation guru, that, well, I don't think I should call him a guru. He will probably be disappointed if I call him a guru. But I've been following him for like 8 years now, or 7 years, and he's been a source of inspiration when it comes down to just really understanding why we do what we do, and how we function. So yeah, I feel blessed with having a couple of people in my life who really, you know, bring out the best of me. Yeah.
Cool.
And I think everybody should find people and surround yourself with people like that.
Is that something, when you now in your female network, that sometimes, and that's something from my own experience that I saw, is that it's very important to surround yourself as a female entrepreneur with people who uplift you during your jump, journey, whatever, because there are a lot of people, nah, don't do that, go work for a boss, don't do that, it's going to be too risky, so that you search other women who are going to uplift you and
Yeah,
stimulate you.
I mean, you should surround yourself with people who stimulate you, whether you are a female entrepreneur or a male entrepreneur.
Mm,
You should surround yourself with people who really want to see you succeed,
yeah,
and don't put their own limitations that they have in their own head on you and project them on you, and project them on what you could do. And it's hard to, it's also, I think, a personal learning experience for yourself when you start realizing that maybe some of the people who you surround yourself with, because of, for whatever reason they've been in your life, maybe are not the ones that will come along on this next journey that you're going to take, which is, could be difficult, but it's also kind of okay to actually move on to the next thing. But I do believe that if you're not surrounded with people that support you on your journey, you're not going to make it. And this includes specifically your partner, whether you're a guy or whether you're a girl. Um, you really need to understand the level of support that your partner can give you in your entrepreneurial journey to a certain extent, because not everybody can go into the same craziness level that you might go as an entrepreneur. um, but really be aware of what you say to whom, in order for you to actually just, that's a little bit vague, I would say. Maybe let me just rephrase that, and say just this: you really should you really should support yourself with people who can lift you up and want to see you win and
yeah,
succeed in what you do.
yeah. You just mentioned something very interesting, which I have been doing and looking into the last 3 years, about minimalism, the decluttering. So, I assume you have surfboards. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, these were the last things with a couple of clothes that they cannot take away from you. I assume. Um, where did you get that idea? Because I saw it on a TEDx talk, I think 3-4 years ago, and since then I get rid of everything, and it gives me a lot of peace of mind, to be honest. And I love doing that. And people sometimes tend to look at me, you are giving away things or selling things. Why are you doing that? Where did you get that idea?
I actually love that too. I just did a decluttering exercise last week and I just got totally excited about it. Which means a lot because I have like all my stuff fits in 3 bags. So like literally all my stuff, except the surfboard, that's in another bag. I don't have furniture. I don't own furniture or any of these things. It came about very practically. Um, when I was as a student, and then I started working, I bought my own house. You know, I was successful as an entrepreneur. I started accumulating things. Why? Because that means that you are successful. A nice car, nice clothes, nice handbags, nice shoes, nice furniture, nice all of that stuff. Um, and it sounds cheeky when you say like all of a sudden I realized it didn't make me happy, which was not true because I didn't realize it like that. I just realized I wanted to start traveling, and practically that meant I was going to rent out my house and I had to move my stuff, not the furniture because I was renting it out with furniture, but my personal stuff. So I put everything in a storeroom and I kind of just left it there basically for like 3 years in one of these, you know, Shurgard
Um,
stores. And I paid like $150 a month to basically keep stuff. And then at some point I was like, that's a pretty crazy expense to have. I don't even know what's in that storeroom. And obviously it hasn't been that important because I haven't missed it for 3 years. So let me just go and check. So I went to the storeroom and I got all like frantic about just clearing it out and throwing away mostly stuff I didn't even realize I had. I was like, what's this? You know? And that's kind of, it just felt so liberating doing that exercise. And just, I just realized like, wow, this stuff has really like, I wouldn't say holding me back or
yeah,
anything,
yeah.
but it became a little bit of a burden in the journey that I
Yeah.
was taking, just having that physical stuff. And then I just started to let go. And 3 years ago, I moved to Spain and I became a little bit more sedentary. And I thought, oh, now it's going to start again. I'm just going to accumulate nice things again for the house and blah, 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 blah. And actually, it didn't. Like every time I got something, I was like, ugh, I don't know. Now I need to carry this around.
Mm.
Like it felt like a responsibility owning something instead of a liberation to own something. So for a lot of people, like they buy something because they think it will make them happy and it's going to liberate them from some kind of a burden. And for me, when I started to get rid of stuff, I just felt more and more liberated
Yeah.
each time I did it. And even last week, I only threw away like just not much, like only like this volume of stuff. I didn't throw it away, actually gave it away.
Yeah.
And it was just like, yeah, now I don't have to, I'm not responsible for this anymore.
Yeah.
Which sounds crazy, but I don't know. I find it really
Yeah, but
liberating.
me too. I don't know if you have simple rules, but I have, and it's not a strict rule, but things that I don't use for like 6 months or 1 year, and it can be everything, I give away or whatever. So I give away like 3 guitars to young children in Africa via an organization in Ghent to help them learn to teach music. Also, my first guitar, which I bought of the money of Blankenberger, which holds an emotional value. But then I look at it, what emotional value? You don't play with it, you don't do anything with it, so it's just there to keep it.
The memory,
And yeah,
the
and then
memory that has the value.
yeah, and
Yeah.
then giving that away. I mean,
What a
just
great new use, and what a joy to
yeah,
actually realize that someone else is having the joy of playing that guitar like you did maybe 20 years ago.
yeah. And I was like, I was playing in another rock band, and there was and the other guitar player, fantastic guitar player, but he was autistic and he could not do a proper job, so his wages were minimal. And but we were playing rock, and his guitar was not really suited for that. And I saw this guitar and I was like, And I gave it to him because I quit that band after a year. I said, my mission is over here. It's for you. You can have it. And you have to make me one promise. If you are going to sell it, just give it back to me. You can play it. It needs to be played. That's what it's meant for, like the ships in the harbor. It needs to go out of the harbor. And just make me that promise. Eh? And I see then regularly on Facebook pictures of him playing that. And he could never afford that guitar. And it sounds really corny and cheesy, but it makes me so happy seeing that guy with a smile on his face, rocking out on the stage, and having that ability to give that to somebody. That gives me more pleasure of buying that thing, because it's just a piece of wood with strings. And it sounds a little bit, but it's easy for you. You have the money and things like that. But it's, for me, it's not about that. So I totally get you there.
Yeah, I think it's I see more and more people like buying into that kind of a lifestyle. I think a lot of people have experienced this during Corona as well, where they started decluttering their space and stuff like that. But the reality is, we do live in a consumption society, where everything is about buy, and buy this thing and you'll be happy, because basically that's the message all the time.
Yeah.
It's food or a car or clothes or shampoo or whatever. I do feel like people are getting more aware though of what they are doing to themselves and what they are doing to the world in a bigger frame.
Yeah.
Which I think it's a good thing, but on the other hand, it's still very marginal. There's, in comparison to the rest of the world, it's only a very small amount of people who are living that lifestyle. But for me, it kind of just works. Honestly, if I love buying clothes, I will be buying clothes. Like, it's not like I'm very ethical about it or something. It's just a lifestyle that it just suits me. It just works.
Yeah. Well, it's like the clothing thing. If I don't feel good at it, I don't. And the biggest experience, it's more like a spiritual thing, was when I was around 30. I bought all these expensive clothes, and then for some reason I don't wear them anymore, and then you have to give away like that 100 euro or 150 euros pull over or something. That to give that away, I was like, and once you over that hill, then it's like,
Yeah.
you can take it. And because then you feel that resistance of your body, of that belief which is inside of you for so long.
Yeah. I do think, with one of the things that really helped me on that journey was just like realizing that it's actually, I don't want to own something. I want to feel the experience that thing is going to give me.
Yeah.
So I love nice cars. I really do. Like, but do I want to own them? No, I actually want to drive them. That's what I want. I want to drive nice cars. I don't necessarily need to own a nice car in order to have that experience, So it's the same with more and more things that I realize. It's like, do I want to own a cookbook? No, I want to have the experience of making that dish and eating it. That's what I want. The cookbook is obviously an enabler in that process, but I don't need to own the cookbook to have that experience,
That's a
which
good
is
one.
very, very different mindset or a very different way of looking into it. And I think a lot of us, when we buy something, what we actually want is the experience that we think the product is going to give us, whether that's good shampoo. Why do we buy it? Because we actually want to have glossy hair. Or maybe
Not
not
me.
beter, but that's that's what we want. We want to have that experience. Obviously, we need to buy the product to have that experience, obviously, in that sense, but with a house as well. I love being in a gorgeous beach house, beachfront property, surf break, just in front of the house, where I can invite friends and all that kind of stuff. Do I need to own a house like that? No, I can rent one and have that experience. And maybe next year I want to have that experience, but being in the mountains, snowboarding. Do I need to have a chalet in the mountains? No, I can just rent one and have that experience without the burden of owning the thing that I might just going to experience 1 or 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So that's how I look at it.
Interesting. I didn't saw that coming. Now, if we're going to, because we're already quite over time, but it doesn't matter. If we going to go, if we now looking into the future within 10 years, who is Lien?
I have no idea, and I'm not interested in that either.
Okay.
I've been reinventing myself every couple of years, so honestly, I have no idea who I would be. I hope I will be a little bit wiser.
And grayer?
I hope I will still be alive.
And in gray? Gray?
That doesn't matter. I could be gray, just maybe wiser.
Yeah.
And that's it. But where I will be, with whom I will be, doing what, I don't know.
Great. Now, but we didn't not talk about that a lot. So we talked about, I'm going to read, by the way, your book Get Real next week when I have it. Looking forward. So you have Zeker van haar zaak. You're also the founder of Travak Business School.
Yeah, correct.
What's that?
Travak Business School is an online course of 10 weeks that currently women entrepreneurs can go through. It's a 10-week online course where we basically teach the fundamentals of business. So it's about finance, sales, marketing, administration, building a product which is scalable. So we basically go through the most important fundamentals of not building a business, because most of our students, if I can say students, already have a business, but they realize it's not giving them the freedom that they want.
Yeah.
They're missing out on just a bunch of basic things that need to get sorted out in order for them to go to, the next level. So that's what the business school does.
And you just mentioned that you reinventing yourself every X amount of years. You have now these two. What's next for you? Are you working on something new to start?
Yeah, I always have tons of ideas bouncing through my brain, and I have learned from my more monster meditation that I shouldn't jump into them straight away. So I tend to bounce around with ideas for a very long time before I actually take a step manifesting them more into the world. I have been, so with the business school and with Zeker van haar Zaak and with the book, I really wanted to bring freedompreneurship to Belgium. I really wanted to show people there's a different kind of way how you can set up your business. And via the network and the school, that's what I teach people. This is like, here's the framework, here's the formula. Step A is this, step B is this, step C is this, and so forth. And you follow the formula, and then you're going to get somewhere where you want to get to. I've been doing this for 5 years now, and I love doing this. I've seen amazing results with my students, and it's given me a lot of fulfillment from that. I feel that now for me the time has come to, because I have been learning a lot about strategy, mindset, limiting beliefs that we have as entrepreneurs. And I do believe that those are the things that you need to skillfully train if you want to grow your freedom business. Mm-hmm. So I feel like the things that I've been teaching via the school, which I guess will be teaching for quite a few years to come, because it's still very valid, and it's more valid right now than it has been before. So I think I will be teaching that for still many years to come. But on top of that, I do feel that women who have been experiencing that and have been growing towards a 100,000 euro business, which I was in about 3 years ago, I feel with what I've learned, I can take them to the next step, which is not about how should I get stuff done, but it's about why are you doing what you're doing and what's holding you back to get to the next level. And it's not about, oh, I don't know how to sell, because you have those skills. It's not like, I don't know how to do marketing. You have those skills. You know how to do it. It's about, what are the stories that you tell yourself? And are those stories telling you to go big, whatever kind of way that means? Or are they telling you, oh, you shouldn't do that? And how are you positioning yourself into a market space that is just really kind of requiring you to reinvent yourself and your business every couple of years? How do you do that? How do you keep a strategic vision on what it is that you do as an entrepreneur? And I feel like, because I've been going through that journey for the last 3 years and worked on a lot of stuff regarding that, and really broke through kind of a lot of barriers myself, including with my business too. I feel now that this is the next level of knowledge that I want to bring to my audience, or to a new audience that I haven't talked to yet. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Great. Now, last question. What is still a great, I can continue for hours, but we're not going to do that. What's still a crazy dream for you? But it has to be crazy, eh? Don't say I want to serve in Fuerteventura, Spain or something. A crazy dream for you. Is it that mansion and the piano playing in the US?
No. You know what? I think this is a great question. And I'm going to tell you right now why it's a great question. Because one of the things when I started a business, I wanted to be successful. Mm-hmm. Then I was successful in the old school kind of way. And then I realized, you know what? I want to be successful in a lot of ways, not only in business, but also spiritually, financially, with my relationships, with my friends, with my personal development. I don't know if you're familiar with like the wheel of life.
Yes, of course. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
So I started really looking into my life like a more holistic way of having success. And that helped me again to kind of like grow into a more balanced kind of
Mm-hmm.
lifestyle, which basically is where I am right now, which actually gets me to the point of answering your question. Right now, I feel so content that I actually don't have a dream left, which is one of my biggest challenges at the moment. It's kind of like realizing that I'm living my dream life
Yeah.
and realizing that I need to build another dream. And I don't know yet what it's going to be. And that's a really interesting space to be in. I've been in that space for like a year and a half now. Um, I think it will unfold.
Yes, of course.
The dream will unfold, but it hasn't unfolded yet. There's been a lot of suggestions, but nothing really that's like, oh yeah, this is gonna be
But
it.
but I think you will know that everything comes on time.
Yeah, I think so. So right now, I feel like I've achieved basically my wildest dreams. And but I also know with the growth mindset that I have, it would be really cool if I could get another really awesome dream. But I don't have it yet. Maybe your viewers have some awesome
But it's
suggestions.
your life and it's your dream, so the
No,
answers are within you, eh?
I'm open to whatever comes my way. Trust me, I will say no if it's not going to be my thing. But I'm all eyes and ears for the next big thing. But I don't know what the next big thing is going to be yet.
Is that already part of um, the freedompreneur? How do you say that methodology? Is to realizing your dream life?
Um, for it's about the business part of it,
Yeah,
how the business can serve the dream life.
yeah,
I feel now with the next level of kind of like mentorship that I'm going
yeah,
to provide, it's actually going to expand into
yeah,
those, not all of the other areas of your life,
yeah,
but definitely a few
yeah.
other areas of your life. Yeah, so.
Because I think it's the same for me, because you said the wheel of life. Because when I started to look my life also more holistically, I think there is the key, because it's not. I mean, it's great to be successful in that, especially business area, but I think it's a very limited life, and that's like I just said. You have the relationships. I look at from emotional, physically, spiritually, and mentally, and as long as I work on those four things, and I have like 12 areas in my life I can work on. I mean, and these things need to be, how do you say, in balance, so that they are, yeah, these are ingredients to the mix that makes my life my dream life. I mean, what
Mhm.
am I having like $1 billion when I, yeah, when all my relationships are very bad, which I'm physically too fat and I'm feeling lazy, or not lazy, I'm feeling tired, having no energy at all, mentally in a very bad place, and emotionally a wreck. I personally, so and I think, yeah, and I think a lot of people, especially with this Corona thing, are searching, and it doesn't matter if I'm meeting people from 23 or 25 are struggling, thinking about, is this the relationship for me? We just bought a house. Is this what I really want, or I'm just surviving? Or when you are 50 and thinking, now I just lived a mental construction of my life, of opinions of others which I should live, the 9 to 5 golden cage thing, driving, and I'm going to use now your words, driving in a very too expensive Audi in the ring of Brussels. Um,
I love Audi, by the way.
what?
I love Audi, by the way.
Yeah, me too. So yeah, but it's that I know what you mean by that. So and that's actually my mission. I really want that people follow their passion, follow that path of that positive energy, and that they can have multiple things in their lives. I don't want to choose between being a musician, for instance, and doing business and being spiritual. It's all, and being a father. For me, it's all possible. I
Mhm.
don't see any reason why I shouldn't.
Yeah,
Um,
agree with that. And one of the things that made me build, for example, the Travak Business School, it's kind of like, it's a little bit of my legacy. I mean, when people know that they need to change things in their lives,
Mm-hmm.
whether that's the job or the relationship or whatever. But the reality is that we don't even always have actually the time to properly think and realize and change things. And one of the biggest reasons why we don't have the time is because our work consumes us. And if we
Yeah.
look at the 24 hours that we have in a day, besides, I hope, sleeping, probably your work is going to be the biggest chunk of hours that you're
Mm-hmm.
going to spend being awake. And one of the things that I honestly, I do believe that when you get that stuff sorted out, when you get like a job that is fulfilling or a business that is not only fulfilling but also liberating you from a 9 to 5 mindset, from working 40 hours a week or 8 hours a day or whatever, and you can have a business that is basically a little bit taking care of itself
Mm-hmm.
and create time freedom for you, that's when you have opportunity to actually expand in those other areas. Because I think a lot of people really do want to work on their relationships or want to spend more time diving into the spiritual journey that they're thinking about. But the biggest chunk that is holding them back is, I can't do it because I need to work, because I need money. And whether we like that or not, it's the reality. You need money to have your house, to have your food, to have all that kind of stuff. And what I've always hoped to do, on like in a bigger picture of things, is like, here's my business school and here's the formula that's going to give you that freedom to step away from that grind, that no matter what you still have to do because you have to make money. Unless, I mean, you're born rich or you're inherited something or you've got a sugar daddy or a sugar mommy, but most of us, we need to make money to live. That's it. Whether that's a lot or that's a little, it doesn't matter. That's the reality of the
Yeah.
society we
Yeah.
live in and here in the world. And I was just like, what if you could have a business that's kind of like is taking care of that part without you having to attend it 40 hours a week, 80 hours a week, maybe not even 20 hours a week? How does that enable you to kind of expand on those other things in your life? Because we can talk about any other development journey that we want to go through as individuals, but in the end, if we're working 60 hours a week running a business, it's marginal, the effects that we're going to have. And I really wanted to expand that for myself, and I knew I needed to build a business that would allow me to do that. That's why I became an entrepreneur at first, and that's why I redesigned my business. So I actually had the time to, travel to Thailand and meet with my spiritual guru, or live in Austin and go surfing, or, like do those things that nurture me. So yeah, maybe that's a little bit of the bigger thing of what I'm trying to do.
Lien De Pau, I have to say, as a conclusion, you're a beautiful and a wise woman.
Thank you.
And I want to thank you for your time, your
I was going to
energy.
say the same to you, Peter, but I should say a beautiful man and a wise man. Otherwise, it would be a little bit weird.
Yes. And I'm very sorry I don't use shampoo anymore. So so don't run away. Don't run away. But thank you so much for taking the time, your energy, your passion, and actually your mission. And I wish you all the best, all the luck, and you will find that dream.
Thanks for having me on your podcast. Thank
Thanks.
you.
Bye-bye.
Ciao.